So I know you guys were protesting outside earlier. Are you with any groups? You're with MoveOn.org? Mm-hmm. So you just got escorted out because you blurted out something. I didn't hear what you blurted out, but why were you blurting out anything?
I said, where do the women go? Because they defunded Planned Parenthood, and he was talking about, taxpayers pay millions of dollars for Planned Parenthood, which was a bullshit number that he gave out. It was absolutely not true. And his argument is that Planned Parenthood, the reason the Republicans don't like it, which they don't like to say, is because they provide abortions, which is 3% of what they do, which is not paid for by taxpayer money. They don't like to tell people that. Republicans don't like abortions. They're against it, even though it's only 3% of what they do. The rest of what they do is they give women services that they need.
But there are also a lot of, in all due respect, there's also a lot of Democrats who are against abortion also.
That's true, okay. But even still, there's women that have nowhere to go to get help that they need, like their yearly pap smears, their exams. They're low-income women. They have nowhere to go.
Again, what people have take issue with is the whole funding of abortion, and they do.
The government does not. It's illegal. It's illegal. There's a law already in place. They're not allowed to use federal money for abortions.
But don't you think your argument would be better served by not blurting out? Because that's the thing is, he was answering all the questions. I think they actually worked this all. He's answering all the questions.
But he wasn't answering it. He was just saying the reason for defunding Planned Parenthood, it takes too much taxpayer dollars, blah, 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 which the number that he gave was not correct in the first place. And it wasn't a good argument, because where do people go? The question is, where do these women go now? There's no answer for that.
But Planned Parenthood's still around, though.
He's defunding it.
Well, they voted to defund from the federal government, right? But they, like a lot of people say, hey, Planned Parenthood is, they fund it through a lot of private entities.
They're going to have difficulty keeping afloat now because of this.
Now, back to why you got kicked out. Kicked out because you were like other people were, like 4 other people were escorted out because you're blurting out. How does that help the discourse? I mean, really, there's time and place. I mean, you can probably ask them afterwards.
He was taking pre-written questions. To me, this is not an open forum town hall. The reason he did it this way is because he did not want a back and forth discourse. He didn't want to be able for you to ask a question, him to answer, and you to be able to say, follow up on it. So to me, it was unfair. You weren't able
But all the questions he was asking were pretty much tough questions against his positions. And however he answered, but in all fairness, he answered whether
he wasn't answering questions.
But they were the questions that a lot of people.
He wasn't answering them, though.
But they asked him questions that a lot of people.
They asked him, he didn't answer them.
But if let's say, if you would have asked the question, the same question that they posed, that you guys, a lot of them, I'm saying you guys because there's a lot of people that were cheering and part of the whole Code Pink or Move On. He would have answered just the same, and you guys would have tried to follow up. He probably would have answered. He would
not have answered. He wasn't answering any of the questions that were asked. He was giving the party line.
But what about the disruptions when he was actually just giving his presentation before the question answer?
Because who wants to sit and watch a PowerPoint presentation? Seriously? These are our 2 offices. I mean, no one came here for that. Everyone came here to talk about the issues.
Right, well, but I guess his platform is that he wants to say, hey, here's the update, now let's talk about the issues. But again, I have in respect to him and credit to him, is the fact that I don't see any other Republican or even let alone Democrat congressman actually doing what he's doing. He's actually, for whatever reason, he's doing what he's doing. He's putting it out there. He's taking question and answer. No one else is doing that. If you go like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and I've been to him, a town hall, if you would, maybe 4 questions, if that, and they're cut off. So I mean, really, 60 some odd questions. However he answered, he's still taking some of those questions. So
I don't care. To me, it's not fair, and it's not freedom of speech to me to not be able to get the full response and not to be able to personally go up and ask your question, for him to look at your face, who you are, right. His constituent. I'm the person. I want to know. This is what I want to know. To have somebody else read your question and not be able to have a full discourse, I think it's completely unfair. So the only option you have is to is to shout it out and say, hey, what about this? What you're saying is not true. Hey, this, and that girl was saying, that's my question, can I clarify? No, she couldn't do that. He wasn't allowing that.
So is tonight part of the whole call to arms, if you would, of move on in the Democrat Party to go protest different, especially Allen West town halls, like they did to Webster, they did to Paul Ryan in Wisconsin?
Yeah, it's all about this whole budget, awesome budget plan. That's obviously everyone knows doesn't add up.
Well, even the Democrats are saying they want to cut tax. They have to they want to compromise on the budget because they know that we're spiraling out of control. Democrats also, even some of the left-wing leaning Democrat congressmen and senators also want to cut back. So
everyone knows they have to cut back. But they do not have to cut back on these social programs that are needed, especially by low-income people. That's where the problem comes in. And when they won't even look at things like defense, and when they won't look at the top 2% and the extending of the Bush tax cuts, and they look at this Paul Ryan budget and this chart that we've seen a million times, and then they'll repeat the talking point over and over again, every single Republican, it's not a revenue problem, it's a spending problem. That's all we ever hear. But yeah, it kind of is, and every business person knows that it is. If you have a business, if you're having business problems, you increase revenue, you raise your prices. It's how it is, and they're unwilling to concede that.
So if they raise the prices, how are people going to be able to afford it if they can hardly afford stuff now?
We're talking about the top 2%, the people that can afford it, the people that have 90% of the wealth in this country.
So, but what is that? I'm just trying to say, top 2%. Is that what the president refers to as that make over 250,000?
Well, that's the number he gave out, but I think what they've been saying is he's willing to negotiate that number. It's not definitely.
So you think he's going to? Well, what he's saying is going to reverse his position from what he campaigned on 250,000 as to negotiate maybe to 200 or 150,000.
I mean that I don't know. I just know that there's been talk. I just know that I feel like the extremely wealthy having their taxes raised, it's not going to affect them, and if it's going to help, well, I don't understand what the problem is.
So it's safe to say that you're going to be voting for Allen West next year.